I am live. All right then. So I guess we have started. Unfortunately, it looks like there might be a little bit of a issue where I'm just sort of randomly looking into space until I figure out that everything's working. But besides that, everything looks fine. So cool. The stream has started, which also means I need to do the other thing that is share on Twitter. Everyone on Twitter needs to share it. Considering that this stream is about Twitter, I mean, it's about Dragon Ball GT, and Twitter was where I actually shared a lot of my thoughts on Dragon Ball GT. So I think it's only fair that the people on Twitter have a right to know that I am here and I'm talking about Dragon Ball GT. And let's go, let's do this. All right, and we've got some people here already. We've got Preston Anderson, Extraordinary Unique, Ronan7997, and Comic Beat 7193. I am audible and visual. That is very nice to hear. Unfortunately, there was a little bit of a thing a few minutes ago where the internet was going a little bit weird. So, once again, don't expect this stream to be totally always working. There might be a little bit of buffering or my internet is going weird or whatever, but obviously hopefully that doesn't happen and everything will be fine. So anyway, everybody who is coming or has come or will come eventually or is just watching this on YouTube after I did the streaming part, hello, my name is Gabby. I sometimes talk about things on YouTube. Sometimes I also react to DBZA stuff, and I do things on YouTube, and sometimes I get lazy and I just watch things and tweet about them instead of actually making a video because making a video is hard. You have to think about things. But tweeting, you can just go around and tweet random things, whatever you think about, and it's under 280 characters, so you don't even need to really think about long, detailed discussions. So, anyway, um, hang on. Oh, there's a bit of visual buffering. Okay, right. The stream's current bit rate. Okay, so the stream's bit rate is that's automated, isn't it? Because I think it changes the bit rate depending on what the connection is like. So that's whatever. Hopefully it should be fine. And now it says it's good connection, so it's okay. Yeah, like I said, it might go up and down a bit. My internet is bad. It's very bad, and that is a problem. But we can deal with it. It's as long as, I mean, at the very least, everything will probably get archived to YouTube afterwards. So then you can watch the whole thing without any sort of like, hey, visual buffering, and I can't hear what you're saying, and yada 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 yada. Team Z Productions, how's it going? It's going pretty good, I guess. Anyway, so I guess we might as well go around and start explain that what this is about. This is me talking about Dragon Ball GT for as long as I feel like it. Because basically, so Dragon Ball GT, obviously, it is the it is the kind of thing where, especially amongst Dragon Ball fans, it's very polarizing. Some people really hate it and think it's the worst thing that ever existed. Some people just like really try to defend it a lot and are kind of just like, it's overhated. And then, of course, we have the good old Dragon Ball GT versus Dragon Ball Super debate, which is always probably going to be a thing now, sadly, even though I think that they're very different kinds of shows under very different circumstances, I think. So, I think I'm not really always that interested in GT versus Super debates, but I can give a few of my thoughts on it later on. But basically, the thing is, GT was something that it's a very fascinating part of Dragon Ball history for people to know, but I had never watched it. I had never actually seen it. So I'd seen like maybe a few episodes, and also yeah, I'd seen a few episodes like randomly, I think from just watching them once or twice just to see what the fuss was about for some of the interesting parts. And I think, there was one point, like, my early YouTube days when I was talking about, like, no, not early YouTube, like early fandom days where I was just, absorbing things Dragon Ball related. And I watched a few episodes of GT and I'm like, it's kind of boring. Don't think I really want to watch this, whatever. So there was that, and there was that. But I never really watched it from beginning to end. I'd also seen I'd seen lots of people's reviews of it. There was one like blog I'd followed out for a bit, and that one was sort of it had sort of been sort of blogging GT and kind of sort of giving a sort of summary, sort of, whatever, summary thing, kind of comedic sort of evaluation of every episode. And, that I thought was quite interesting. And but I'd never really watched the show from beginning to end because basically I thought it'd be kind of boring. I thought, I don't know if I'm really that interested. I'm not really that invested in it that much. And of course, like, the whole like it's not canon thing obviously gets a bit overblown in the fandom, but at this say what do you mean it's not receiving? Okay, it's fine. All right, sorry. I'm getting very. It just looks like it made an error for a bit, but it's back. So and it's just it's a kind of it's a thing I thought I wasn't going to be interested in because like yeah the whole like it's not canon thing gets sort of overused a lot, but the issue is that people kind of obviously sort of just use that as the be all end all, being like, oh, it's not canon, so therefore it's bad, and therefore you shouldn't watch it because it's not canon because Toriyama and something. Whereas, I mean, I don't think necessarily talking about whether or not this author was involved is the be all end all of the story. In fact, I think it's more interesting because then you can judge the story on, well, the merits of the people writing it as opposed to like Toriyama. It's like it's a very interesting thing to see kind of what the difference is when something that Toriyama did or something that Toriyama didn't do when you kind of try and figure it out. Like honestly, especially with Super coming along, and you're just sort of like, we know the Toriyama gives sort of broad outlines, but the actual specific details, we don't necessarily know who came up with them. Like sometimes interviews and stuff tell you that, oh, this was our idea and this was that Toyotaro's idea or whatever, but it's not very obvious for every single thing, so you kind of have to guess. GT is quite obvious. Toriyama didn't give everything there. He gave them some details. He gave them some character designs, some little pictures, and said, "Hey, it's up to you now. Go around and just deal with it." And so that was basically what happened in JT, and the rest of it was really up to the Toei staff to come up with everything that happened in GT and what was going on with it and that kind of thing. Yes, you are going to get some stream lag because there are errors because it says something about how YouTube is not receiving enough video to maintain smooth streaming because of course it is. Because why not get a proper stable video connection? That's just not fair for the people who want to see a laggy buffering video. Obviously. Okay, so yeah, anyway, maybe I'll wait until this error goes away to see if I will actually probably start properly doing my thoughts, but why is it doing this? Okay, yeah, I get it. It's error, I get it. See, this is what I was worried about, and I was worried, hey, my internet's bad. Doesn't that mean it's gonna lead to a big issue? And it's okay, it's fine now. Yay. Okay, so basically right. Anyway, so GT, I decided to watch it because I'd never really watched it from beginning to end. I watched it in Japanese because I'd heard things about the dub. Like, it's not necessarily, the GT dub is like the Z dub in a way. It's not really that much different to the Z dub. It's just a bit like, well, for one thing about the GT dub, which is kind of a bit almost hilarious when you think about it, is they tried really hard to try and market GT to the same kind of market as Z. Like, and they kind of try almost too hard. Like, they try harder than they try with Z to make Dragon Ball GT look hardcore, because obviously that's the only way American audiences could ever experience Dragon Ball GT, because if it has to be hardcore with like really really intense like metal sounding music like all the time, and a guy like a really deep sounding narrator voice being like, step into the grand tour, and rap music, obviously. So there's that reason, and obviously they changed the sound. Replacement soundtracks as well make things sound very different, and also there's that kind of like there's that thing where they try to make it hardcore and they're also openly aware that a lot of GT isn't like that. So they kind of selectively try to forget that a lot of the show exists. And that makes it very hard to judge as a show when the show is trying to forget that other parts of the show is openly happening. As you know, people who were like big more fans of the sub probably know about when, I mean, I didn't know this experience is firsthand, but I've heard about it when Funimation was trying to get Dragon Ball GT up, and they had this like trailer thing where it's like, "Oh, you think you know GT?" And then they played like the Japanese, Dun Dun Kogoro. They played the opening. They played the, little bits of early GT, and then they basically just like be like, "No, you don't know GT." And then they say like, "Look at all this hardcore action stuff. See, it's not Japanese. It's not like silly and melancholy and like goofy and cutesy. No, it's for real men. Real men watch Dragon Ball GT, obviously, quite obviously. And so, because of that, I don't really want to watch it dubbed. I maybe as a joke, but I probably also watch Dragon Ball Z's dub as a joke as well because, like, it's like the other thing about the dub is like, even if the performances are fine now, it's just like some of it just kind of feels a bit, obviously some of it feels a little bit unprofessional. Some of it, some of the lines are weird. They change it to very weird, goofy things. Sometimes the voice performances are a bit weird or just generic. And anyway, like I might as well watch it in Japanese because like it's better in Japanese. Like just telling you guys now, it's better to watch GT in Japanese than it is to watch it in English because I think you're gonna understand the story better. And second of all, it's like, I mean, it gives you, like, it gives me the greater context of everything that's going on in the kind of way that Dragon Ball was originally produced, because, it was Japanese first and yada yada yada. Anyway, so, I watched it all in Japanese and I was tweeting about it. I made it on my Twitter and I was basically just doing hashtag GT Watch. I have a little like moments thing on my Twitter account where I put in, I compiled all of those things and I just watched all of the episodes and I took lots and lots of screenshots and just posted lots of little tweets about every little minor thing about things. Not necessarily know every single thing that happens in every episode, but everything that I noticed. And I guess now it's like, now that I've not only watched GT, but watched GT in a very great detail, like painstakingly taking pictures of things and discussing things, I feel like now I can finally talk about the series without just having like, big broad generalizations like everyone else has. And yeah, so it took me like 10 minutes to get to the point of this. But yeah, so Dragon Ball GT. It is a show. It is an interesting mixed bag and quite fascinating in the context of its own show. Because obviously, everybody probably knows the context of GT. People, it's the manga of Dragon Ball ended and then the anime ended, but they kind of still wanted to keep Dragon Ball going, but Toriyama didn't want to write anymore, so they're like, well, we'll just come up with a story ourselves. And that's not necessarily a bad idea. Like, it sounds like now it sounds almost like the devil to kind of even try and do something like that, but it's fine. I think I just have to say this now, a lot of the stuff about Dragon Ball GT, it could have worked. There's some stuff where I think it's just sort of bad from its very inception, but I think it can. I think a lot of that stuff can work. I think it could have worked if some things had changed or some things that they did do. I think did actually work in their own right. But it's a weird show. It's a flawed show. It's a show that's really fascinating to watch in terms of Toei figuring out what they were gonna do for a story. But yeah, it's a thing. Yeah, it's like Dragon Ball GT. It is a show. Put that on the cover of the GT box set. Yep. Clearly, be like, and this is said by YouTube influencer Mozilla Vulpix TM went and said that. Here you go. I'll be dude. You can hire me, Toei. I'll be your GT hype person. Actually, jokes. He'll probably be like Zion or something. Isn't that right, Zion? And I mean, Dion's not here, which I'm kind of sad about because he's like the biggest GT defender I know. Well, him and Victor Perez on Twitter as well. But yeah. Drag Neil says, I for one enjoyed the dub. I hate the sub for everything Dragon Ball related. The only reason I watched Super in sub was because it was further ahead and was probably going to get spoiled if I wait for the dub. Yeah, that's true. I mean, it's different preferences, obviously. when I first started watching the sub, I thought it was a bit weird, but now I'm used to it, and now I basically can't go back to watching the dub, which is kind of I'm almost sad in a way, but it's like I enjoy the performances, I enjoy the Japanese music, and I think it makes more sense. You know, when there's things where you're like, why did this happen? But in the Japanese version, sometimes it's a lot clearer. So, Master V877 says, was Giru any more tolerable in the sub? Trick question. Um, to be fair, I don't know what Giru sounds like in English. I actually don't know what his dub voice is. I know what Pan's dub voice is. I've remembered that, but don't. I actually don't remember what Giru sounds like in the dub. He's alright, I guess. He is sometimes, I have to admit, he is sometimes quite annoying in the sub as well. So, yes, no, maybe, question mark. Question mark. Yes. Jacob Brandsetter says, who else misses Eon? Yeah, I mean, okay. Like, basically, Xeon just doesn't want to. Like, he still exists, obviously. It's just besides the Dragon cast, which we're probably gonna do at some point soon, he doesn't really want to be, like, do any more Dragon Ball fandom videos because the fandom is just annoying. Or at least they annoy him all the time, just for having weird opinions, and he just got tired of it. You know, it's what happens. So, anyway, I think we should actually try and not deconstruct, but go through this show, through this episode, and yada yada yada, and let's start from the very beginning. So I have my little I have my Twitter thing, so I can look through like my episodes, so we can kind of see what back. I started this year. I started watching GT in December last year. I only finished it like a few weeks ago. It's actually kind of a bit insane, really, because it took me so long. But I guess it's just like, okay, I'll be completely honest, like having to watch an episode and then like tweet about it and work out everything. It's hard work. I didn't press back, internet? Why did you make me go back? I didn't press back. Oh well. Okay, so episode 1. I guess we just talk about, the very beginning of GT. So it starts off with Goku having this idea. You have a Goku who gets turned back into a child again. Pretty much so. I think it's for two reasons. One, to sort of capture that kind of kid Goku, young Dragon Ball, going back to the roots of the story sort of idea. Second of all, I guess because to sort of like kind of, I guess, sort of refresh everything, make Goku a different kind of character, and also kind of nerf him. I think that's one of the reasons as to why they turned Goku into a kid, because obviously this idea that Goku is so powerful on his own that, like, basically there's no plot, like, there's no tension, there's no issue, because Goku can basically just deal with everybody. And I think that's part of the reason as to why they turned Goku into a kid. I honestly don't really have anything inherently against the idea. I think it's fine. I think they don't really do much with it. Like, there are a few moments where it's like, oh hey, we're going to have maybe Goku can't use his teleportation technique because he is in a child's body now and it's different. Or hey, maybe Goku can't use Super Saiyan 3 very well because he's in a child's body. I don't think there was really anything bad about this idea. I remember Black and Fist once. I remember he once did a video about GT where he said that like Goku turning Goku into a kid was like one of the worst parts of GT, but I think it was alright. I guess it's just at the end of the day, especially after like the baby arc, it doesn't really change much or inform anything because they stop really using it as an excuse to nerf Goku. So if anything, it feels like turning Goku into a kid is basically all it really ends up meaning is that Toei can make jokes about Goku stripping naked and Pan being very uncomfortable about it. Because you can't show adult penises, but you can show child penises. That's totally fine in Japanese television standards. I don't really understand Japanese television standards, but what do you know? Anyway, and so that is a okay. Hang on, actual proper questions. Jacob Brandsetter said, "Do you feel his actual character was regressed when becoming a kid?" Honestly, I don't really think so. Like, there's some points where maybe he acts a bit goofier to what he would act as an adult, but I don't think really he regresses, to be honest. Unless you can talk about that part where he says that he's not a Saiyan, that he's an Earthling, but that's not really a regress. That's a, like, almost like take character development taken very extreme. I think he's basically still the same character. Well, okay, not really the same character compared to the manga. It was something that I realized while watching the show is that, the characters are based on their Toei characterizations, as in, like, the characterizations where they just added more elements to them during filler for, random points of the time, and then it just basically ended up accumulating until they're not necessarily a different character, but, like, they have different elements to them. With Goku especially, they play up the kind of sort of superhero Goku defender of justice almost thing a little bit, quite a bit more than they ever would in the manga. Though I think that really sort of comes from the idea of sort of like Goku in the movies, sort of like basically like Takao Koyama's writing of Goku. Takao Koyama is he was the scenario writer. I think he was the main writer behind Dragon Ball Z, which means he doesn't, not the manga obviously, but he wrote the anime stuff and also pretty much all of the movies, I'm pretty sure. So all of the kind of when you ever saw, Goku characterization in the movies where he's very much like, oh no, you hurt my friends, you're gonna pay, and you're defending the earth, I'm gonna beat you now. Like, that kind of thing is very much also a part of GT, almost to a fault, where a lot of the time Goku's role, well, he's sometimes he's there for comic relief to go around and do silly things, but the other thing is he's also there to basically when he sees oh no, something bad is happening, like there's some dude who has some dude is extorting these poor innocent people, or they're hurting his friends, or whatever, and he'll be the one to be like, how dare you do that? I'm gonna make you pay for it. Like, almost to a fault, almost to a very repetitive way that it gets kind of almost boring. But it's like that is the kind of difference, I think, between Goku's GT characterization and really, you could say Goku Z's characterization, even Goku's Super characterization. Obviously, Goku in Super has had moments where he's sort of like, oh, I'm gonna do the right thing, but that's not really a key core integral element of the plot like it is in GT and in the Dragon Ball Z movies. So yeah, that's like, I think his characterization's fine. It's just sort of different to the manga, and in a way, like, because I wouldn't say it's bad. Like, I wouldn't say it's bad. It's just different, and maybe it's done a little bit too much, especially in some of the later arcs. Because maybe I'm jumping a bit ahead of myself now, but especially when it comes to things like the evil dragons, the shadow dragons, whatever, it always basically there's always basically a moment with every single one of the villains of the dragons where, like, they do something evil, and then Goku's like, oh, how dare you do that evil thing? I'm gonna make you pay. I'm gonna kill you. Well, he doesn't say kill, but he's like, I'm gonna punish you for that in the name of the moon. Not in the name of the moon. But and the problem is that it basically happens for every villain, and sometimes the motivation's always like the same thing. Like, hey, the guy is gonna beat up on Pan. Oh no, he hurt Goku's granddaughter. Well, that means Goku is gonna make him pay, and it gets quite repetitive. I know I'm getting very much into negative things here. See, like, that was honestly my issue with doing Dragon Ball GT and watching it, and I don't think I really got to deal with it, was the fact that there is a bias there. Like, I have bias against GT because, one, I've heard bad things about it. Two, I'm not the biggest fan of Dragon Ball Z filler. And three, like, I like Dragon Ball Super, so people who are being like, oh, GT is so much better than Super, I was like, oh, is it really? But I like Super. I don't think the GT is better. So, I feel like I might have had a bit of a bias. I might have wanted to say that GT was worse than it actually was. But I don't think that I watched this 100% objectively. I think perhaps I was a bit more harsh on random silly plot points than maybe I would be normally, but it's sort of what happens. Like, it's I can't at the very least, I'll acknowledge it. I'll acknowledge that I'm slightly biased here. I can't really do an impartial view of watching the show, but it's what happens. Anyway, I guess I should actually get back to the episode. So let's go. If we go to episode 1, let's see if I have anything interesting to say. Or what I had interesting to say back in December. Oh yeah. So for one thing, so the first big thing in this story is the Black Star Dragon Balls, or the Ultimate Dragon Balls, which is actually what they're called in the sub, but they also call them that in such so fewer times. I can understand why people forgot that they're not called the Black Star Dragon Balls in the Japanese version, although they are Black Starred Dragon Balls. So obviously a lot of people complain about Dragon Ball GT having plot holes and things that don't really make much sense, and I'm not normally the biggest person to complain about plot holes, but yes, there are a lot of things in GT where it's they add new elements basically to the lore, and a lot of it feels kind of a bit arbitrary, or just kind of not fully thought through, or basically they're just things where how do you know this? Why would this do this? That seems awfully convenient and whatever. So for one example, because the entire story is kind of kicked off by Pilaf somehow finding out about these Ultimate Dragon Balls that he knows about, and he knows apparently that they're in Kami's lookout, and he also knows that they were made by the previous Kami before he split into Kami and Piccolo, and then it's okay, where did you learn this? Okay? Obviously, it's not a show-breaking scenario, but obviously when it's the first thing that you find out in the episodes in the show, and you're kind of the show was only just started and I already have several questions. That's probably not good, right? So, I do actually admit when people say that hey, it's yeah, maybe it wasn't as well thought through as he was, but I don't think it's necessarily the biggest deal, but I think people do have a point when they say that. Okay, DE says, well, hey, it's been a while since I've seen your content, but I really liked your reaction videos. Thank you. I don't really do that many reaction videos anymore, but I am at a stage where I'm figuring out what I'm going to do. I don't think I'm going to be doing many more reaction videos besides Team 4-Star stuff, but I think it's thank you, at the very least, thank you for enjoying my content. Okay. Michael Linden is talking about Pan and GT and how she never goes Super Saiyan. I will get to that. I have a lot of things to say about Pan, but I'm going chronologically, for the most part. I have a lot of things to say about Pan, maybe almost to the point that might annoy people, because I am the person who cares about representation of female characters in Dragon Ball, and Pan is a doozy, because she is almost always there. Oh yeah, so the other thing that Dragon Ball GT starts off with is by pretty much very kind of really nonchalantly just shoving away all that stuff with Oob, and Goku training Oob, and maybe Oob's gonna be the next protector of the Earth or whatever it is. And on the one hand, I do understand it, because I think Oob is a very difficult issue to deal with, because obviously, setting it after the epilogue, that's the issue. See, Toriyama puts this character Oob there at the end of the story because he's not going to do anything with him. Oob is a symbol of Goku's basically his continual search for a good fight and continual search for strong opponents, and also for betterment of people and whatnot. And hey, maybe someone to be able to do something after Goku. But the one thing is, if you wanted to do Oob, you could it basically have to be Oob essentially trying to eventually maybe take Goku's place as something. And one thing I know about Toei from reading the worst interview ever, I will get to that later, is that they love Goku and they did not want to budge on Goku ever. So, if Goku's going to be there, Oob has to kind of sort of not be mentioned, really. And that's the thing where it's I know that disappoints a lot of people who wanted to see Oob. But at the same time, I also don't know what they do with Oob. Because in the manga, in those 2 or 3 chapters he's in, he barely does anything. So it's a dilemma, and I do at least understand how GT handled it and why they did that. But at the same time, I understand why people got disappointed about it. Why people be this is such a wasted opportunity. And I mean, that's probably also why Dragon Ball Super does things before the epilogue, before when Oob shows up, because then they don't have to care about him. They don't have to talk about, hey, what isn't Goku supposed to be training with Oob now, because it hasn't happened yet. Sorry, I'm just looking at the comments again. I, I, I should probably figure this out later on, but I should try and find a place that's easier to scroll through the comments because it has a bit of an issue with the I'm getting a lot of GT versus Super things. Yeah, here we go. Oh, Augusta says hi coming in. Am I late? Not really. I'm trying to get chronologically through the episodes, but then, knowing me, of course, I just get sidetracked by all my tangents and whatever. Yeah, Augusta saying that they could have made Ubi part of the Grand Tour into space, and then yeah, sort of you could develop Ub and stuff like that as well. Yeah, exactly. They could have done that. They could have done that, but I think I actually don't know why they didn't include Ub. Like, if anything, they could have replaced Trunks with Ub because like Trunks' role in the kind of Grand Tour section is just sort of being the voice of reason and flying a ship, and like they could have used Oop for that maybe, but I guess they just weren't interested, like, honestly, because it is a very weird setup of very specific characters to show up. And I think to explain that, maybe we can go into the second episode. Am I right? Yeah, probably. There's nothing really here. It's just like the thing about the Dragon Balls is if you don't collect them all within a year, then the Earth explodes. Because, and also they scatter across the galaxy. And to be fair, I think that makes sense. Like, I think the idea of them, hey, going off into space is cool. I don't know why, like, they realistically, of course, if they go into space, they'd probably like land in the middle of space and not on planets, but I don't know. Maybe, you know what? Maybe as they're shooting by into space, they interact with a planet's like force of gravity, and then that's why it always ends up in planets and not in the middle of nowhere. But then again, there was like that one Dragon Ball that was found in like a spaceship, so I don't know what was going on there. Maybe those guys found that Dragon Ball in the middle of space, and then I don't know. But anyway, on to episode 2. I'm probably not gonna get through all 64 episodes this rate, but maybe I'll just skip stuff. I don't know. Okay, so when we get to episode 2, which is this is the part where it's interesting because there is a very long setup to the main plot in GT, and it's actually kind of almost a little bit. Okay, it's not really weird. It's more just like they were sort of almost writing this like they had to pace it like they paced Dragon Ball Z. But that itself is kind of weird because, like, in Dragon Ball Z, they had filler and they had to not overtake the manga. But in this episode, they were sort of like still pacing in that same sort of way because it's like they spent the entire episode they have to try and fix the spaceship. But like the way they put that into an entire episode is they have all these subplots like, oh, these guys are gonna kidnap Bra, and then they find Goku, and then they kidnap Goku instead, and then Goku's just playing with them at an amusement park and taking all their money and just having a terrible time and whatnot. Oh yeah, and then you have like Pan being like, "I don't want to be treated like a kid," and it's really annoying, and everybody around me is treating me like a kid, and then it's like her parents and her grandpa and like Goku and everyone. That being said, there are some really great parts in that episode, like the one part where the criminals are like ringing up Bulma to try and get a ransom for Goku, and instead Vegeta picks up the phone, and Vegeta's just like, "What? You got Goku? Oh, okay. I mean, you can do what you want with him, I guess. Bye." And then like I don't know, like Horikawa does this is just completely like not interested in this like that delivery, and it's like the best joke ever. I loved that. And then you've got like Pan trying to be like, I've got to be an adult in front of my grandpa who like coddles me all the time. And she's like, she's trying on coffee, and then she's like, yeah, I need to have coffee without sugar. And then she's like, actually, I don't like coffee without sugar, but I'm gonna have it anyway. And then of course Mr. Satan just like trying to help, but then just making everything worse. It's it's fun, and if honestly, I think it does do a good job of like using the characters to make this kind of story, but then it's like, and then they just go into space, and I think that's when things start kind of just getting a bit less interesting. I mean, for one, it also has to it has that issue with the plot holes, you could say, where it's basically like the reason why the this story is Goku, Trunks, and Pan going on the adventure is just kind of very arbitrary, where it's like, oh, Gohan is going to go because he wants to save his planet, but then, and Goku's obviously going because he wants to do it himself, but then it's like, Vegeta's not gonna go, but he's gonna take Goten and Trunks to go because he wants Goten and Trunks to mature up a little bit, and he'll just take them to go, and then it's like, but then Pan actually wants to go on this adventure because Pan wanted it to be an adventure. I mean, it's just kind of essentially a fetch quest to try and make sure the Earth is okay, but like, Pan's like, I hate being treated like a child and I want to prove myself. And I have to admit, in other stories, that kind of plot line could get quite obnoxious. Like I think, like stuff like I feel like Sailor Moon, Chibiusa, like Chibiusa does that in a very annoying way. But I think at least in this episode, it's done all right. And I think the idea of Pan hating the fact that people are treating her like a child who can't do anything, I think is fun. But like, the issue is that, well, the issue is how they do it, and I mean, I think it doesn't really work or anything. It just doesn't really work very well. I'm sorry. I'm just looking at comments and whatnot, see if I miss anything, but oh, you said Satan, you're trying to get yourself demonetized. Listen, I'll be fine, okay? And if I'm demonetized, it's not a big deal. Anyway, so but I do think you have an interesting dynamic there. I guess like Goku and Pan at the very least definitely have a dynamic. I don't necessarily find it very fun or funny, but there is a dynamic there. Trunks, I guess he also has a dynamic with Pan. Trunks doesn't really have a dynamic with Goku, I'd say, but I mean, the other big issue maybe that we can talk about, Trunks and GT, is that he's nothing at all like the bratty version of Trunks that we saw at the end of Dragon Ball Z. And obviously, you could say that, hey, it's just because he mellowed out a bit as he grew older, and that makes sense. But at the same time, the fact that they did that and then, like, also, like, made him all polite and also gave him a sword, at least in the intro, he never seems to use the sword in the show at all, which I am honestly very shocked about. It makes you think that they were just trying to capitalize on the popularity of future Trunks as opposed to the Trunks that was actually in their timeline. But yeah, I mean, as we all know, the trying to capitalize off future Trunks' popularity does not end with this. But anyway, that's episode 2. Episode 3. Oh yeah, right. So the problem with not the prop, but like the thing that kind of annoyed me a bit, the thing that I didn't really like about the space adventure, is we start off with like essentially a 3-episode side quest detour, a 3-episode detour where we don't even find a Dragon Ball, and it also did not need to be 3 episodes. They land on a planet where it's all about like money and greedy people and people who are stealing money and extorting money and whatever. But the problem is it lasts for 3 episodes. This arc lasts for 3 episodes, and kind of nothing much really happens out of it because there's no Dragon Ball there. The only thing that really happens is that they get introduced to Gil, and Gil becomes their Dragon Raider. Sorry, Giru. I'm gonna get confused because I was watching this all subtitled, and obviously the subtitles was an interesting situation where Steve Simmons often, the subtitle idler, often did things that gave characters different names. So Giru in the Japanese version, well, not in the Japanese version, but the subtitle, he called him Gil, which is also an accurate way of saying it because there's like Giru, Gilu. It's like, R's and L's are interchangeable in Japanese and whatever. So I guess he thought that his name was Gil. The Funimation thought they should call him Giru, but whatever. Basically, it lasts for 3 episodes, and honestly, I don't think it's that interesting. It's just like, hey, it's we're just going. There's a planet, and oh no, there's people are trying to extort us out of money, and oh no, Pan is whining about everything, which is when Pan stops being interesting and starts being annoying, because I mean she's getting annoying because she's like, oh man, Goku, this is all your fault because everything is going wrong and it's all your fault. And it's like, I mean, it kind of is, but like, it's not nice, it's not fun to see, especially the main character, get randomly called out for things that he's not really openly responsible for by this little kid who doesn't really know better. It's like, the fact that this archetype shows up so often in stories and in anime especially makes me think that people are used to this. The Japanese audience is used to this idea where it's like, kind of like the nagging female, the nagging girl. Like I've noticed that a lot in like when you have those sort of like those sort of like the toy commercial shows for children, especially like if you had things like say Digimon, I think we had an example of that as well, where it's like you have all the boys and it's mostly boys, and the boys are just going around being like, oh hey, we're going to go and do this adventure, and then the girl is always like, the one girl is being like, no, we can't do this, why are you boys going into all these situations where you don't know what to do, you're going being very irresponsible, and that's terrible, and it's going to get us all hurt or killed, or it's not going to get us what we want. And obviously, I'll be honest. I think if I was the girl in that situation, I think I would have been like that as well, but it's not fun to watch because you're rooting for the main characters. And when you have a character who's basically just there to get in everybody else's way and to stop them from doing the plot, essentially, by reminding them about responsibility, it's not really likable. At least I don't think so. It's quite a like, actually, no, I don't like this. Why do you have a character like this? It's quite, and it makes a character unlikable, and I think that's why it's sort of unlikable. It's a bit of an issue. Ashley Genoa said, "Did you know that the kidnappers were a Home Alone reference?" I did not know that, but that actually makes a lot of sense because I think they actually do look like them. That does make sense. That yep. John CH says, stereotypes exist for a reason and that's why they're funny, lol. There's always truth to them. Yeah, that is true. That is a truth. It's just, maybe it's a personal thing. I personally didn't really find it that fun. Even when I could, like, especially when you have, like, when I could relate to the girls telling the boys, hey, you need to be more responsible. Even then it was like, I mean, I guess then it was all right. If I related to the girls more than the boys, then it'd be fine. But when you relate to the boys, then when the girl is there, it's like she's annoying. Like she's not likable. And why would you have a character not be likable? It's almost like it's not like, oh, people they just hate girls, but it's like it's an idea where like they use the girls for like the annoying things that all the girls in my childhood would do to me, and I didn't like it. It feels like there's always a bit of resentment there. I don't know, thinking a bit too much into it, but that's kind of what I don't like about Pan in early parts of this show. Other parts that I don't like about how they use Pan later on, but it's what happens. Yeah, and he says they should have made Pan grow out of that eventually, and yeah, that is the issue as well, because like obviously she's framed as what is essentially a nuisance, and she never really gets better. All that really happens is she gets into situations where she can't get into anyone's way because the stakes are too high. So it's a bit of a weird situation. Yeah, like CSB Transition says, the mom who's in charge. Yeah, no, it is definitely also like a mom thing where you're like, yeah, like it's like the little boy who's trying to play or go out and be reckless, and then you have the mother being like, no, you can't, you have to do your homework, or you have to go and, take responsibility for some of these other things. You can't just go around and play all the time. And I mean, obviously, you see that with Gohan and Chi-Chi as well. That is the main driving force with Gohan and Chi-Chi, where it's like Gohan's doing one. Well, it's more like, it makes sense for Gohan to do something, and then Chi-Chi's like, no, I'm going to be the mother and be realistic in this situation and say, no, you can't have fun. And like, it makes sense, but it's also like, you don't like being told that you can't have fun because you want to have fun. It's annoying. Oh yeah. Anyway, also it also starts the thing with Pan. It also starts the thing which I like to call the adults were paid to draw this counter, where it is they do weird things with Pan, and I think everybody we need to all know Pan is 9 years old in GT. She is 9. Now they also animate a scene where Pan tries to hide a key from Trunks by dropping it down her shirt. I mean, if she's 9, so she wouldn't even have anything there. But guys, guys, she's 9. Can we not? Can we not? Can we not? And honestly, I think that is. Oh shit! Did I just? Okay. All right. Cool. Okay, that was very weird. Okay, I'm sorry for the random interruption there. I thought because I closed the YouTube tab that had the streaming, I thought that was gonna stop the stream. But it didn't stop the stream. Great. It just means that you're gonna see a point where I'm just going around saying, oh shit, in the middle of my stream. It's okay. Nobody's gonna get to this part anyway. But yeah, she's 9, guys. She is 9, and you've got to deal with it. And why were they doing that? Like, actually, stop. Okay, so Jacob's saying that she's 14 in the English dub, but the fact is, she doesn't look 14 anyway. Like, she looks like a little kid because that's what she is. She's a little kid. Stop it, GT. Like, like I said, I can deal with this stuff. And I mean, in Dragon Ball, okay, this stuff kind of happens. Obviously, you have the Bulma being like, put in compromising sexual situations, but she's a minor. Pan is a minor, so when it happens, it's quite uncomfortable. And it's one of the things where I'm like, GT, even if I like you, I don't like this. And please don't do this. Please. Okay, cool. Nothing broke. Great. Augustus, I saw your question, but I'm sort of going more in order, you could say, in chronological order. And you were talking about baby, I think. So I haven't gotten to that part yet. I'll get to it when we talk about baby. But yeah, so basically this whole situation goes on for 3 episodes, and it's pretty. I don't even know why it goes on for so long, because really not much happens. It's like they go around from place to place, and they flee the capitalism, and they meet some people, and they're like, all of this happened because of Don Kia, and Don Kia is making our lives miserable. And like, it's funny because for someone like me, when I'm expecting these kinds of stories, you're like, oh, okay, so they're gonna go up and beat up Don Kia, right? But then they don't do that. They're like, Trunks is like, well, I mean, that's sad, but we can't just go around beating up people if they did something, enslave people. People have to do what they want. So people have different planets have different rules. We can't just go around and beat up everyone, and that makes sense. But it's also so different to what the genre does that I'm just kind of like, oh, okay, I guess this sort of feels like we're just doing this to pad out for time. Because, like, they do fight Don Kia in the end. Or not really him, or, like, Rajik or Lejik or I don't know. Apparently the guy's name is supposed to be a pun on credit. So, it's kind of hard to really say what his name was. Yeah, RoboP is bringing up the deer. Yes, the deer is the worst part. Although the stuff with the Doltaki is pretty bad as well. Actually, no, the Doltaki part's worse. Doltaki, I'd say, is worse. And yeah, Raphael's saying Bra has the same problem with her character design. Yeah, that was definitely Toriyama's fault, because he drew that character design for Bra, and he knew that she was, like, also the same age as Pan, who was also a child. I'm like, no, do not dress up your minor underage child in, like, red leather. No, don't do that, Toriyama. Please. Please don't. Please don't do that. Anyway, so what happens in episode 4? Does anything actually happen? Let me see my tweeting. Okay, they find out that Goku can't teleport because he's a kid. Right. Their spaceship gets stolen, so they have to get their spaceship back. And it leads to a very fun, I have to admit, a very fun but quite long chase sequence where they get the spaceship back. But then it's like, oh wait, no, the plot isn't over yet because the spaceship's still broken. So they need to get parts for the spaceship yet now. But how are they supposed to get parts of the spaceship? And it's like, I mean, it's alright, honestly. Like, as a story, it's alright. I just maybe just as the first story, it's kind of like you just want to sort of figure out what's going on. Like, maybe you shouldn't have the spaceship break the first time they go to a planet. Like, maybe you shouldn't make them get stranded on a place the first time. Maybe you should make the first thing easy, and then, like, only once you start getting, like, used to things, then you will have a story where the spaceship breaks. I don't know, just ideas here. But I mean, let's put it this way. I think it's like, I mean, I think they said something about like how after like 3 episodes of the space adventures, they were saying that they were kind of realizing this wasn't going to work. So it's probably why. I think that's the thing. They were writing this like they were writing filler episodes, and they realized it's really boring to watch on its own because like everything gets padded out and there's not really much plot. So anyway, on the 3rd episode of their space adventure, if it would load, oh yeah, they go around and stumble. They like hide around because they're like on the wanted list, and they stumble into more sympathetic residents who are like, "Yeah, we're gonna go and help you and give you food." And then Pan is finally like, "Hey, why don't we actually just beat up the bad guys?" And then he'll probably be able to help us. They'll probably get our spaceship working anyway. And so they go and fight the guys. And it's an actual fight scene, but then we start getting introduced to a lot of the really annoying tropes of GT, which happen basically every time there's a fight scene. So, for example, Pan is going around and she's like, okay, I'm gonna go and fight. And then she gets captured by an electric thing that just paralyzes her, just kind of that he has. So obviously Pan's out of commission. And then, hey, Trunks is gonna go and fight. But then Trunks fights the strong dude, and then the strong dude beats Trunks in one punch because he's a really strong. Yes. And then Goku's like, nah, you gotta leave this to me, Trunks. Which is like okay. Like, maybe it's because, I don't know if it's because Goku thinks that he's stronger than Trunks, or it's because Trunks is or it's because Goku just really wants to fight a strong guy, so he wants to get the strong guy to himself. And then we get, like, the first proper fight in GT with Goku and Legic, whatever you call him in the dub, which is honestly alright. Like, it's choreographed quite cool. Legic has some cool abilities where he can, like, pull swords out of his shoulder blades, which is cool. And then, like, I mean, I guess it's just at the end of the day, it's sort of no consequence. Once Goku goes Super Saiyan, it's, like, immediately over. And it's like, I've got to admit, though, it sure is convenient that Goku being turned into a child means that he can't teleport, but he can still go Super Saiyan. So actually, it's fine. There aren't any issues, but oh well. Sorry, my throat is hurting, so I'm gonna have my stay hydrated drink break. Anyway, okay, so I don't actually know how old Bra is because different things said different things about different guidebooks and whatnot said different things whether or not Pan was born first or Bra was born first. Obviously, in the Super timeline, Pan is born first, but I don't know if that was really like fully like discussed by that point. So stay hydrated, guys. Oh wow, that looks really cool on my camera because that is like shining right where my drink bottle is. So it's a heavenly drink bottle. Anyway, so yeah, and so they fight. But, like, at the end of the day, it's not really much of a consequence, because once Goku goes Super Saiyan, he can just beat it, but it's fine. It's decent enough. Legic has a little bit of a character arc, although it's, like, it's done so quickly, it's not really much of a big thing at all, and it's almost a little bit generic, but hey, it's like, it's a story where it's like, okay, I like the idea. Hey, they go to a place, the place is in a bad state because of this bad person, so they go and beat up the bad person. Goku has a fight against a guy that makes him have to like try a bit, and then they save everybody. And then Gil shows up, and Gil eats the Dragon Raider. So he's now basically the Dragon Raider, which I think is actually a really interesting idea. Because the fact is, the Dragon Raider is a very important. Ah, hey, Xeon is here. Hello. And everyone's going crazy. Everyone goes wild. Ah, hello, Xeon's content graveyard. Anyway, I'm glad you can make it. Like I said, I was saying like I need you here because you're the GT defender. So I need you here to talk so you can hear my opinions, my very important opinions. Anyway, so right, and so anyway, like I was saying, I like the idea of Gil because the Dragon Radar is a thing that's kind of so important in the story because it's sort of the reason how they can get the Dragon Balls in the first place. But it's just a machine. It's just a little device. It's completely static, like completely. It has this. There's no emotion to it. There's no like story to it. It's just a little plot device that they have. So having the idea of giving basically the Dragon Radar its own sentience and personality, I think is a really cool idea. Yeah, double stream. Okay, listen, I would totally love to have Xeon on this stream, but the problem is I don't know how to do my Twitch settings to do that. Not Twitch settings, my audio settings. I don't know how to do it so that I can both have my audio coming out from my microphone and his audio coming out from my computer, maybe? I don't know how to do it, so I wish I could, but I can't. Like, when we do Dragon Cast, we record our audio separately on our own computers and then we sync it up together. We put the audio tracks together and we sync it up. So I don't know how to do it live. But anyway, like I said, I like the idea of Gil, where you turn the Dragon Raider into a character that walks and breathes and has personality and has its own motivations. I think that's a really interesting idea. They do it later on, kind of with the evil dragons as well. I like the idea of just turning these really generic plot devices into actual living, breathing things that have plot character dynamics and stuff. I think that's a cool idea. I think they don't really do that enough, maybe with Gil, to be honest. Like they don't really do enough about the idea that Gil is the Dragon Raider. I feel like in the end, Gil is mostly just there for a bunch of gags where Pan kind of violently abuses him, and it's supposed to be funny because Gil is a robot and not a human being. But I don't really find it funny. But anyway, time for actual Dragon Ball adventures. Am I right? Dun dun kokoro hikara teku. Okay, so the first Dragon Ball they find is at a planet where everything is big. It's kind of like Gulliver's Travels, I guess. Although I think Gulliver's Travels, I think the first time they went to a place where everything was little, and then he went to a place where everything was big. But hey, yeah, this is their first Dragon Ball adventure, which I think it's fun. Like, I think, once again, like all of the other GT episodes, it's got a lot of padding in it. But yeah, I do like the idea where it's like, okay, let's have a story where everything is big and they have to deal with normal situations that are now big sized. And they have to, deal with things like big giant bees and big giant giants and animals and grass and apples, I guess. Although there's also the issue, this also starts the great story of. Oh, hang on, sorry. Oh, yeah, Xion's just saying that. Okay, he's just listening at work. Okay, it's good because I'm not really doing anything with my stream right now, like with the audio part, visual part. So audio is fine. And Stephen Scott's talking about how you enjoy GT and have a problem with heroes. I can explain, but I'll probably explain when I actually get through all of the show. Like, there are different reasons why. There are different reasons. Heroes is not good, though. I think we can all agree Heroes is bad. Maybe we can't, but I think so. And this is my life. This is my life and my opinions. I am the only one that matters. No, not really. Anyway, unfortunately, the one problem about the bug, giant planet episode is it starts the long-running thing of Pan being a damsel in distress and having to be saved by Goku and Trunks, which is not, on its own, it's like, okay, fine. If someone has a damsel in distress one time, whatever, it's fine. It's not a big deal. But when I started counting how many times they use the plot point of Pan, about to be, either in distress or about to be, defeated by a strong guy, and then Goku and Trunks having to save her, it happens quite a lot, and it kind of sucks. And what is that? You know, these tropes are not always bad, but GT's problem is it uses them again and again and again, and basically they don't change the dynamics with them at all. To the point that it makes you think that Pan's entire purpose of living and being in the plot is to be a damsel in distress, so Goku can look cool and give Goku something to do to save his friends. And wouldn't you know it, according to Kozo Morishita, that's kind of sort of why she's there. I think the scriptwriters were a bit more subtle about it. They don't necessarily say that's the only reason, but there was an interview with Kozo Morishita for the Dragon Ball GT Dragon Boxes, and he basically said Pan exists so she can be the damsel in distress, so she's like the heroine that makes Goku a hero. And then he brought some ideas of like how women liked Titanic, and that makes damsels in distress okay, because women like Titanic, am I right? It's so comforting to have the girl be saved by the strong guy. So, you know, fun times. Very fun times. Oh yeah, Raphael brings up a good point. They used the opportunity to lost the opportunity to give the spaceship or the time machine an AI with a personality. That is true. Okay, I would be totally down for the spaceship also having an AI personality. That would have been really fun. And hell yeah, if you did the time machine, Trunks' time machine as well, that could also be fun. But sadly, they didn't do that. They should have totally done that. They should have totally done that. Oh my god, that would have been the best. Anyway, Ray of Truth. Like for the moment, I thought GT Watch meant Game Theory Watch, and I was confused. Whoops. Okay, here we go. People are talking about my heroes things. Yeah. Person who I can't pronounce says Japan is sexist. Yeah, I'd say, I guess I just want to say, you know, GT is very conservative with how it treats its female characters, and if you're wanting something different, this is not the right place. Anyway, I'm sorry that the sun, I should probably close my curtain a little bit more. Can I do that without moving from my chair? Let's see how lazy I am. Yeah, I can do that. I can totally do this. Oh no, you saw the whole of my bedroom. There we go. That's better now. Am I right? Hang on. What do I look now? Yeah, I look great. I look fine now. So, yeah, because, you know, sun is moving and eventually shines through that window and then it gets into my head and my eyes and my whatever. But, whatever. Uh, yeah. Leon saying DBZ is sexist and speciesist. Listen, okay, this time it's not even a Saiyan thing. This time it is just a they can't be bothered thing. It is a thing. Henry T's like girls like Titanic. I swear I didn't cry. You know, I've watched I've watched bits of Titanic to be fair, but I actually never watched the whole thing. So I didn't actually watch the whole thing. I don't know if I would have cried about it. Yeah. Yeah, because of Morishita. Morishita wasn't the director; he was the producer. So he wasn't necessarily very involved in every minor decision. He was just more like making sure that the production ran smoothly. But you know, it's a thing. It's like the worst thing ever. Anyway, second Dragon Ball, we get a oolong story, or at least an oolong-esque story. If you don't know what the oolong story is, it's when there's a guy, an evil monster, and the evil monster is kidnapping women from a village. And the way that they have to try and deal with that, he's going to kidnap a new woman soon. And the way they have to deal with it is one of the main characters is going to dress like the woman, and disguise themselves as the woman victim, so they can go to their base and beat them up. This happens quite a lot. I mean, in stories in general. Like, you know, this happens in Journey to the West a few times, from what I've heard. It's not even necessarily like they're ripping off Oolong. It's just, I mean, the villain this time is just this giant catfish, and his voice is so annoying, and he is really annoying. And also, they make Trunks dress up and drag, basically, and it's supposed to be funny, I guess. You know what? I think if anything, it would have been really funny if like Trunks made a surprisingly good-looking girl, as opposed to like, you know, she wears a midriff top. Trunks is wearing a midriff top, so she looks all like he looks so big bulky in it, and it looks, you know, ridiculous, and everyone's laughing. And you know what? Whatever. Yeah, exactly. Princess Trunks. Exactly. Isn't that true? Princess Trunks, literally, kind of, sort of. I mean, yeah, like, it's only really TFS that has the whole, like, Trunks looks like a girl, but, like, it's kind of a bit of a bishi, kind of a bit of a bishonen, so, you know, whatever. Whatever. Oh yeah, this is also when we start the part where like just Pan is just abusing Gil all the time, and I don't know why. Also, this Oolong subplot. This is one thing that was really interesting about GT pacing. The Oolong subplot is 2 episodes, when I'm pretty sure the Oolong episode in original Dragon Ball was only 1 episode. So it's kind of like they just stretched out this plot that could have been resolved in 1 episode into two. And I don't really know if you really like gained anything extra from making it 2 episodes besides like Pan disguising herself as a bush. Because you also have stuff like, hey, Goku is stripping naked and Pan is really uncomfortable. And we get to go and start with Pan being uncomfortable makes us go around and start thinking about the implications of, is it really messed up to see Goku's penis, because he's technically an old man, but he's a child. But is this perverted? Is this not perverted? I don't want to go and talk about this. GT, please stop bringing attention to it. Sexuality is weird. Oh, okay. So Augustus is saying, would it have been cool if Goku wore Goku's outfit in GT? Honestly, I think I think some of the Zeno outfits are a little bit over designed, and I think that's also the point to them. But they're a little bit over designed, I feel. So, like, especially like the black, I feel like the black with the red is sort of like a bit too much, trying to make Goku look cool. But I did like the fact that it has the Nyoibo in the Zeno outfit. People dressing in drag is really funny. No one would ever do that seriously. Good message to send to little boys. Exactly. I mean, it's like, I'm not like trying to say Dragon Ball GT is sexist and and like, transphobic and it's terrible. But like, no, it's not. It sort of is, but it's sort of not. It's the culture of the time. But obviously these are moments that make it hard to watch. That's what happens. Do we need a Goku Wee Wee counter for this stream, like in the Dragon Cast? Oh my god. I think wait, did I make a, I'm pretty sure I made a, no, did I? No, I did not make that a counter in, my GT Twitter watch, because I did it in Dragon Cast. Oh man, the Goku dick counter, I have missed that. But yeah, right, and so they're going around and they're like, gonna be fight the catfish, but then the catfish is really easy, and then it's like something about earthquakes, but then he can't actually make earthquakes, so he's just a lie. And oh yeah, and then Goku blows up a mountain, I guess. And then oh yeah, right, so they're about to get the second Dragon Ball, and then some guy shows up and uses telepathy to grab it, and then he turns out he's another alien, and he grabs the Dragon Ball and runs away. So basically, that is their second Dragon Ball, and it turns out we're gonna go on a chase scene for another Dragon Ball. See, this is the point where the story basically started saying, hey, this is not interesting, so let us go and make this a more adventure story, more like fights, more like less episodic, I guess, that kind of thing. And so that starts already very quickly. I was surprised my first watch with that, how little faith they had that these kind of one-off Dragon Ball adventures were going to work. But yeah, this is when we start getting to, like, I guess you could say, things that are more like Dragon Ball GT. So, the Dragon Ball gets captured by these people in a spaceship, and they want to get the Dragon Ball for these other people who are like this evil religion, who have this thing called Lude, and Lude is a god of destruction, not to be confused with those gods of destruction that can turn people into dolls. And they want the Dragon Ball, and they know about the Dragon Ball. So then the guy is like, we're going to take the Dragon Ball for the evil religion that turns people into dolls. But we also know that they're evil, but they're like not as evil because they're working for the evil religion, and the evil religion is even more evil than this. And now that I think about it, is that the first time the Dragon Balls ever tried to do an evil religion story? Because I'm actually kind of surprised that they didn't took them all the way until GT to try that, if that's the case. Because it's a quite common trope in, adventure stories and whatnot. Yeah, and so then they're going around and... Oh yeah, right, and they lead them into a trap with some giant worms, and the giant worms seem pretty strong. Also, Gil dabs at one point. And yeah, it's funny because they play the whole like, oh no, this is a big deal. How are we going to beat the worms? And it's like, okay, so basically the worms are like the most powerful thing in existence. And it's not a big deal. Honestly, things get a bit more interesting here because there are less stupid tropes and more of an actual adventure, more actual intrigue, and more of them actually, doing things. Like the characters are doing things and that's just bickering with each other. So it's fun. Okay. And so, oh yeah, right. Then we have the Power brothers, and I just want to say I don't hate the Power brothers. I think they can be quite funny. I think maybe it's almost trying a bit too hard to be quirky, but I don't hate them. I think they're fine. Like at the very least, I think they're entertaining as characters. Like even if they look quite similar and whatnot, I think they're quite entertaining, especially because sometimes they're just kind of being dumb and whatever. But yeah, like they're fine. They do a little cheesy pose off, and I always love cheesy pose offs. And yeah, like okay, they have a hidden ability that makes it so that when they start dancing, the characters can also they have to keep dancing with them. And okay, fine, sure. Like, I mean, this is basically the first thing where, like, we're going into a universe with people we don't know, and then it's finally, hey, oh my god, someone's got a weird ability, and we don't know how to deal with it. Oh no, this is going to be really difficult. What are we going to do? Basically, the first thing that you think of when you think of Dragon Ball Universe Adventure. Oh shit, I just realized this was a Saga episode. I can tell by Trunks' mouth. I'll get to animation teams later, but I need to say that this show gave me a new appreciation for Segasha, who are one of the animation teams on this show. Like I heard they were good, and I didn't realize until how good they were until like watching this show. But it's great. Oh man, everyone's like, oh, people, I didn't like it, and I didn't. They did get. I mean, they are kind of discount Ginyu Force, but to be honest, even the Ginyu Force sort of have a thing where it's like, even then you wonder if their joke went a bit too far at some places. Power Brothers versus Ribrianne. Ribrianne because Ribrianne has more lasting appeal. Power Brothers have like one attack. Ribrianne has multiple. Time for drink. But yeah, and anyway, they basically end up being like, how do they beat the Power Brothers? But it's like, oh, the worms show up, and then they beat the Power Brothers, and they can't keep dancing, so then the characters can't keep dancing. And then they're trying to find the Dragon Ball, and then they don't find the Dragon Ball. And then Pan and Gil, but probably Gil, as you find out, it's probably Gil's. Maybe Gil was trying to do it in the first place, but then they end up getting transported to planet Lude. And now, oh no, Pan is in danger. She's going to the villain's headquarters. Oh no, what are we going to do? And next episode. Good. I think at this rate, I might have to do another stream, maybe on Wednesday, my Wednesday, and I'll actually get through the rest of this because it's taken me a very long time. And I mean, fair enough. I want to kind of cover as much as I can. I'm just looking through my tweets and whatever. So yeah. Oh yeah, and so this is fun, kind of, or at least I guess. Now I'm surprised. Now I'm thinking about it, I'm surprised that they do it like this because so we have Pan and Gil essentially going to the villain's headquarters, and now that I'm thinking about it, you think that this like might be a thing where it's basically Pan and Gil have the bonding story. They get over their differences, which aren't really much differences because I don't really know why Pan hates Gil that much anyway. She just thinks he's annoying or whatever, but that's kind of not what happens. Like, Gil doesn't really do anything in this story, this part of the story at all, now that I'm thinking about it, in this little arc, but... So, Pan and Gil are trapped, and they've got to go to, the villain headquarters, and they don't know what to do, and then it's like, Pan's been like, fine, well, if the Dragon Ball's here, I'm just gonna go and get it, because why not? And then the other guys are going after them as well, Goku and Trunks going after them, and they sort of rope the Power Brothers along to help them find out where she is. And oh yeah, I think the best part is when she storms into the evil religion headquarters, and like they're just going around doing evil religion things, and Pan just comes in, completely uninterested, interrupts everything, makes fun of them, and it's basically just like, man, you guys are rude and whatever, so I'm gonna go and get my Dragon Ball back. And it is this case where I'm just like, this is where I really loved Pan's little spunky attitude, because she's able to do something for one, and it's like, these guys, people who deserve it. They're not just people like Goku who've done nothing wrong. And she's just like, it's just very cute when you just see this kind of story, and it's just like these evil guys are going around and doing evil things, and you just have this little girl showing up and being like, all right, well, I'm going to totally own you guys and take the things that I want and beat you guys up. And it's very satisfying. Like, this was an episode where like I liked Pan here. She was great. And so Cronus Loliet says, like, Pan was my first anime crush when I was a kid. And, I could sort of see that. Like, she's cool here. She was, well, she's sort of cool. Like, sort of. Because then she gets turned into a doll, like, immediately after she tries to fight. And so then she can't do anything. So Pan stabs on the stress again. And hey, look, Goku and Trunks and the Para brothers have arrived just in time to save her from the evil religion guy, who also has a gun hand for a hand. And then there's a joke about a lion, like, just being, like, a lion thing that they have to fight Goku. And then Goku just, like, shoots the rubble and then just makes it collapse on the lion. And it's, like, simple gag. I think it's alright. I think it worked. Oh, yeah, and then, what's it called? Oh, yeah, the Pan doll gets taken by somebody else. And they beat the ringmaster guy. But then it turns out that the ringmaster's whip is also a shapeshifter, and he's the true villain. So now they fight the whip guy, and the whip guy is actually the real bad guy in charge of this operation. Aren't we right? Are we all right? Am I right? Yep. So then, oh crap, it's this episode. So then we start getting to the doll part. The doll talkie part. It's great, isn't it? It's fun times. A lot of fun times. While Goku and actually mostly just Goku, because Trunks conveniently just gets stopped by a bunch of bricks, and he's like, oh damn, is it because I haven't been training? I can't deal with this? And I'm like, oh, great. So Trunks is supposed to be quite weak because he doesn't train, I guess. It makes sense, but it's kind of sad, so I guess it's just mostly Goku who's going to do anything this entire story when there's a strong guy. Yay! Whip guy and make things move around like a puppet master, because it makes sense because he's a puppet master, because, like, hey, he's a religion. He makes a religion, and he controls people through the religion, and also through the other guy, and pretending to be his whip, and he can also control everything he touches with his whip. I thought that was a smart ability. I thought that was a cute fight. Oh yeah, and so this guy called Doltaki shows up, and he says that he's like the priest of the religion of Lude, and like he's the real guy behind Lude. And then he's like, okay, actually, jokes, the religion of Lude is all a lie, and I'm going to absorb all of your energy into the god of destruction Lude, so that Lude can, like, wake up or something. Oh yeah, and then he goes around and he's like holding the Pan doll and talking about how he's gonna play with the Pan doll. Yay! Fun times. And then everyone goes Super Saiyan, but the guy's too strong until Trunks shows up and just kind of randomly shoots a blast at the guy, and then he kills him. And yay! Oh yeah, and then right, this part. Yep, and then Doltaki starts, like, fawning over the Pan doll, which is actually Pan, just that the soul is trapped in this doll thing. And then he goes around and says that he's going to go and change her clothes. And then Pan says that, no, if you do that, then nobody's going to want me as a wife. So yay! Don't you love this stuff? It's great. It's great days. Oh yeah, also, oh yeah, so Robert P saying, did you know Pan's English actress has a YouTube channel when she interviews Dragon Ball people? I did know about that. I found out about that recently. And Raphael says Shida's lion, which is true, because, the lion was animated by Naotoshi Shida. If you know who Shida is, you know who Shida is. Yeah, Zeon's like, yeah, even I'm not willing to defend Doltaki. And, well, okay, like, the issue, I mean, actually, I talk about it later, I think, where I'm just like, okay, the issue with Doltaki, besides being very obvious, because his name is Doltaki, and they're basically like, hey, he's a otaku, and it's basically a big joke about, I guess, otakus and how they like to fetishize underage girls or something, but, like, the issue is that, I mean, it's there to make him look like a bad guy, but the issue is that she can't do anything about it because she's a doll. She can't even try to fight back. And she's basically just sitting around being like, help me, Grandpa, help me, Trunks. And she can't do anything. Like, it's really messed up because it's I mean, like, yeah, it's messed up. The female character gets turned into a literal doll, and another guy is threatening to take off her clothes, and she can't do anything. She has to help. It's very messed up, and yeah, it's messed up. And once again, adults were paid to draw him trying to take off her shirt. Great, great. It's a great time. I love it. Don't I? It's all we all love Doltaki, isn't it? Everyone's favorite part of Dragon Ball GT, the Doltaki part, where he's trying to remove an underage girl's shirt. Great. Anyway, and then Lude wakes up because don't they like absorb Pan? No, they absorb Pan the next episode. Lude wakes up with like the energy of the evil religion people. And so Lude is a big thing, and also his design is what was inspired the robot god of destruction from Universe 3, basically just because I think he was like, hey, they called him a god of destruction, and so then when Toyotaro was like, had the chance to draw some of the gods of destruction, he's like, I'm gonna make one that looks like Lude, so it's like when they were saying that Lude was a god of destruction, they were kind of sort of right. Sort of and sort of. Like, it was a reference, it's cute, but, Lude technically came first. And so they try, oh yeah, right? And it's not the end of the Pan doll thing. So, like, there's like this, he's doing a tea party, and he's trying to dress her up, and it's, oh yeah, and then there's this guy called Dr. Mew, who's like, actually, you need to give the Dragon Balls to me because I'm the one who made everything. I made this whole religion and Lude, god of destruction, and everything because I want the Dragon Balls to rule the galaxy and something. So actually, Dr. Mew is the real bad guy. Oh yeah, and what was this? Oh yeah, and then it was like, actually, the Lude god of destruction thing. It's just a trick to make people come in and give their energy, and then we're going to use the energy for things. And we're going to keep fighting Lude, and the fight's alright. It's not that interesting, I feel like, because Lude doesn't really do much. He's just a big monster thing that, like, just tries to, like, step on them all the time. And yeah. Oh, yeah, and then, like, he's holding the, Doltaki's holding the doll, and then the dolls, he's like, put the doll, make Lude absorb the doll's power, because that'll make it very strong, because the doll has a lot of power, because Pan is a Saiyan, And then, also Doltaki does as well, just for good riddance, because Mew is the real bad guy. Remember, Mew is the real bad guy, so he has to go and make Doltaki turn into a doll. And oh my god, there is a lot of plot. There's a lot of plot in this show, and I can kind of understand. Like, none of this is, it's awful besides the doll, Pan, underage, creepy shit. But it's like, there's a lot of stuff that just keeps happening in these episodes, so you can't even really just like say, oh, in this one episode they fight they fight the Lude dude, because other things are happening. So you've got to kind of like just summarize all this stuff and don't really have any opinion. It's just things that are happening. It's not good, it's not bad, it just happens. Anyway, Lude keeps showing in the final episode of the Lude saga. Is that right? We should call that the Lude saga. Totally put that on your Dragon Ball GT DVDs. Alright, so Lude gets powered up, but actually is still, like, conscious inside of Lude, and in fact all of the victims are. At the very least, she does get to see Dotaki, and then she, like, just totally beats him up because, like, as actual revenge for all that terrible stuff. But at the same time, it's almost like, like, I guess it's satisfying to see her beat him up, but like, I'd prefer it if that didn't happen in the first place. It doesn't make it better. But anyway, so then they're trying to. The way you beat Lude is there's a little core on his inside, but you've also got to defeat it and hit it on the inside and the outside at the same time to shut it down, because it's actually a robot, I guess. And So they have to communicate with Goku outside and be like, Goku, you need to attack it on outside at the same time that we attack it on the inside. And I mean, it's helpful because obviously means that Pan actually helps defeat the guy. And, her being a damsel in distress in this situation is integral. So it's all right. It's all right. Oh, yeah. Also, like, Trunks gets totally wiped by Lude. And oh yeah, right. Then they just sort of talk and they say, "Hey, this is how we beat Lude," until they beat Lude. And but then Goku can't count very well, so then she gives him a little thing with food, and then they beat Lude. But then Doctor Mew's still there, so it's not over yet. Story's not over yet. So yeah, basically that story was kind of a. I mean, I guess they get one Dragon Ball out of it for 3 episodes of randomly fighting people and also cutting back to Pan getting sexually assaulted. But yeah, plot, inverted commas, indeed, Stephen Hendricks. And saying, yeah, it's the brothers who work for the priest. No, the brothers who works for the priest, and then the priest works for the whip, who is also the priest. And that guy works for the doll dude, and that works for the guy and that works for Dr. Mew, who is secretly working on, and then Dr. Mew has like, yeah, he's working on Baby, but then Baby is actually controlling Dr. Mew. And then, like, when Baby shows up on Earth, kind of none of that really matters except, I guess, Dr. Mew, because he shows up in the Super 17 arc. So, yay! It is a weird plot. And, I wouldn't necessarily say, I think, honestly, some of this stuff is entertaining, I'd say. Like, it's actually alright. It's actually entertaining because at the very least, you don't know what's going to happen. So you are a bit on your toes. There's not really much of that, like, oh, we're just gonna fight a bit, and then, like, it's not a big deal because we're not going Super Saiyan, and we don't know if we're gonna win or not, but yeah, it's a plot. So anyway, but then we have the good episode, like the one really, really good episode in this arc, where like, after all that danger stuff, they say, maybe we should go back to Earth and, like, get people who are more responsible and older and stronger and can actually deal with this. And Pan gets really upset, and because, like, the whole point was she was coming here so they could show that she wasn't a child and useless, and then they're treating her like a child and saying that she's useless. So she gets really upset and she runs away in a desert planet and she nearly dies. But then Gil saves her at the last moment, and Gil's basically the only one that notices that something's wrong. Which, now that I think about it, it's pretty messed up. She basically leaves, and nobody really knows what's going. Like, nobody sees her run away except for Gil, because they're so busy dealing with the spaceship. Like, this one is dealing with, like, the actual things about Pan and why Pan was here on this journey in the first place. And it's really good, and it's framed really good, and it's got really good music, and, like, you can just sort of feel Pan's despair and, like, her uselessness. And, like, the reason Will actually knows that running away is an irrational decision, but she just wants to show them anyway, and now she's just realizing that maybe she's not going to be able to get home, and heck, maybe she might even die from this, and she doesn't know what to do. And it's so, like, it's a very touching episode, and I think it's done very well. Oh yeah, also there's a part about what's his name, about Rild, General Rildo, and he kills Doltaki because Doltaki was still alive. But yeah, besides that, Pan, there's like this antlion, and Pan can't beat it because she's exhausted and she doesn't know what to do, and then she's just like, is this the end? And then Gil shows up, and Gil starts fighting the antlion, and she's like, no, Gil, stop. You can't do it. You can't win. And she's just like, and he came to save me, and all I've ever done is push him around. And she's just like, doesn't know what to do, and she thinks that she's dead, and she's just like hallucinating, and she's just like, I'm sorry, everyone. I'm sorry. And then Gil wakes her up because he happens to find water, and also I guess he beat the antlion. And it's a bit weird it happens off screen, to be honest. And, like, because it's a very nice idea about this. And, she's basically just, like, apologizing to Gil that she was being so rude to him when he went around and actually tried to save her life. But it's a bit, the only thing that's kind of sad about this, I don't really, like, is sort of, like, not the best about this episode is, it's a great idea, but there's no real conclusion to all of this. She's just being around being like, she's just thinking that she's still a burden, but, like, Trunks is like, oh, you're not a burden because it wasn't for Gil. Gil found the Dragon Ball, and he wouldn't have found the Dragon Ball if it wasn't for you, because because Gil found the Dragon Ball for you, and it's like, huh. It is not really much of a resolution there. It's like Gil's like she's still useless at the end of the day. Like it's not really changing anything about that situation, but yeah, it's a weird thing, but it's like one of the best episodes of GT, like pretty much, like without a doubt. If you want to watch a good episode of GT, watch that one. I forgot what episode number it is. It's like I think it's like 11 or something. Hang on, let me count. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Okay, no. Episode 15. If you want to watch a good episode of Dragon Ball GT, watch episode 15. You don't even really need to watch much stuff earlier before it to actually, like, get much out of it. Like, if you just sort of understand this, like, you can kind of understand the story just from that thing on its own. It's got, like I said, it doesn't really have much of a conclusion, but it's done really excellently. And it's one I think probably no wonder why, because it's directed by Shigeyasu Yamauchi, who was one of the strongest directors in Z, and he did like movie 8, and he did like other things after that. He's basically he's a top tier director guy. So watch episode 15 if you want to talk about things about GT that are good. Henry T is like, I remember liking that episode as a kid due to Trunks being shirtless. Don't at me. Yeah. Okay, so, what's next? Oh yeah, and anyway, then we start getting to the M2 stuff. Oh, wow. The M2 stuff, we have, if it'll load. So yeah, then we start going into, we start getting to more of the plot, I guess, that's slightly related to the plot, that ends up being the big fight of basically all of GT. But although it's not really got much to do with that at all, it's just they just happen to be in the same place as it, basically. Anyway, so they see this planet, and Gil basically says, hey, it's the planet where I was born. And so he's like, okay, let's go to the planet when you're born. But it turns out it's the same planet where General Rildo is and all the bad guys. And it turns out that, like, there's just Gil robots everywhere, and actually Gil was betraying them the whole time. In fact, the whole point was he wanted to the whole reason why he was there, I guess, was because he was going to betray them and lead them to this place so they could get the Dragon Balls, I think. The Dragon Balls or their bodies, because they're Saiyans. I forgot when they start introducing all these plot elements, because they keep showing up, and it's like, I forgot which at what point I start talking about Saiyans and grudges and baby, but like it's like, oh hey, they capture Goku and Trunks with these robot guys, but then Pan escapes because Gil is like, no, you can leave her alone because she can't do anything. So, take the Dragon Balls first, you can just leave her alive. And then you're like, hey, maybe Gil actually isn't evil after all because he's letting Pan live. Maybe he's doing this on purpose so Pan can go and save them or something like that. But yeah, what was I gonna say? Yes. Anyway, right, okay, and so because Goku and Trunks have been kidnapped for once, it's not Pan who's being kidnapped, Goku and Trunks are being kidnapped, and Pan goes and rescues them by basically sneaking around and getting beaten up by a lot of robots, and then pretending to be an evil robot, and basically, this all gets very Star Wars-esque, let's put it this way. You have I've got to pretend to be the bad guy, I'm going to go around this place with all these robots, and you find out that there's like, these reject robots who are going to like try to take over. They're explaining that this Dr. Mew is building these machine mutants who are going to take over humans, and then they're going to like take over planets and whatever. And then Pan is like, okay, well, I'm going to save the reject mutants, and I'm going to fight these guys and these robot guys to get to basically to get to my grandpa and my sort of in-law friend kind of thing. Oh yeah, and then one of the robot dudes, who was like one of the mini boss guys, is like taunting her about how Gil is the traitor and isn't actually her friend after all, and she gets really pissed about that and beats him up. Like, totally. And then she says that girls get stronger once they're crying. But even though, like, she gets really pissed off and gets stronger and beats a guy, she doesn't go Super Saiyan because reasons. Because I guess Super Saiyan does not count or something. Because, that kind of thing. Oh, Jesus Maldonado says my sister is finally pregnant. Wait. Oh, wait. No, never mind. Ignore me. I'm being a silly person. Okay. Alright, everyone's just talking about. Yep. Congrats on your Lannister baby. Exactly. Uh. uh, And oh yeah, right. And so you're like, okay, cool. So Pan's gonna save them and break them out. But then unfortunately, GT drops a GT, and then as she's going to try and break them out, the other robot guys show up, and they actually beat her up. And then because of that, Goku gets so angry that he just kind of breaks out himself and says that he tells them that, hey, you robot guys are going to pay for hurting Pan. And it's like, damn it, I got very upset about this because it was like, the entire point is Pan's trying to come to their rescue, and at the end, she doesn't even get to do that because Goku just breaks out on his own after she gets beaten up, and then he's saying, I'm gonna go now and fight them for your sake, and it's annoying. It's very annoying. That combined with Pan not getting Super Saiyan when she gets really angry, and it's like, ugh, damn it. Very damn it. Infinity sucks, saying, I'm gonna get my beauty sleep. See you next time. Alright, see you. How long have I been streaming for? Oh no, not even 2 hours yet. Oh, I've got half an hour to go. Maybe I can actually get to baby. But like when I get to actual baby plot, I feel like I need to actually start talking about baby plot. So, like maybe make that a separate stream. Alright, so then Goku fights the robot guys. And he doesn't really have much of an issue with it. Although they have, like, Goku's battle data, I guess. Except, like, I think they don't? Wait, I think there's, like, a whole point where they're like, oh, we just got the battle data, and we're going to, we know all of your moves, and he's just sort of like, nah, because, like, I like the idea where it's sort of like, oh, hey, it's like Goku can't be read by data because, you can't make people convert them into ones and zeros and work out everything about them. But I think it was just more like the data was Goku holding back or something, and he just was like. So when he starts going seriously, it's very, very like not a big deal anyway. And oh yeah, also the Dragon Balls get stolen from, I guess, them. So they need to find the Dragon Balls, so they can't actually leave even after they beat the robot guys. So they've got to go to they got to go, and then so he beats the robot dudes, and then like, oh yeah, right. And then there's one point when Trunks is being a real ass, and Pan is trying to help, and he's just like, no, you can't help us get the Dragon Balls back. You're just gonna slow us down. And screw you, Trunks. Why would you say that? Because the way was trying to save you. You were the one who got captured. But then again, I mean, judging by what was happening later on in this episode, this is probably the part where he's like, I've got a secret plan that I cooked up with Gil at some point, so I can't let you come in because you're going to disrupt the secret plan I have. And oh my god, there's too much plot. There is too much plot, but there is a lot of plot and whatever. Yeah, wait, sorry, I'm just looking at comments. Yep, I'm still mad Pan never went Super Saiyan. And I watched this when it first came out. Yeah, no, that would be awful because, like, you're just constantly seeing, be like, this would make sense for her to go Super Saiyan now. I mean, Goku uses Super Saiyan, Trunks uses Super Saiyan. It's not like it doesn't exist, but Pan just never gets it because reasons. She probably didn't go because they didn't know how to draw her hair. That's not hard. You just like just even have that long hair. Trunks had hair that long when he went out of the room of spirit and time in a ponytail, and it was fine. So, and then yeah, Pan doesn't even get Super Saiyan in Heroes, which is basically handing out every form to everyone, and it's very weird. Yeah, it is very weird, and I don't know why they do it. At least now we have cauliflower, right? Oh yeah, anyway, and so then they fight Rild, I guess. So what happens in this episode? Um oh yeah, so Rild is like the big strong guy. Oh yeah, and also at this point, Goku just randomly mentions that Rild's ki is even greater than Boo's, which means that okay, that could kind of make sense if he's the newest, strongest guy he's stronger than Majin Buu, I guess. But it's sort of like hard to believe because like Goku basically like barely even goes Super Saiyan and he still beats him. So he's sort of like I guess his Super Saiyan form is now like stronger than he was when he was like Super Saiyan 3. So okay. Also, there's this very weird part where like Pan gets upset about Gil and like totally gets a good hit in on Rild, and you're like, oh, cool. So maybe Pan is actually like really powerful, but then like after that, like when she tries to beat him again, it like does nothing. So I don't really know what exactly that was trying to be. That part was just sort of weird. But anyway, they're trying to fight Rild, and oh yeah, Pan is almost gonna get defeated by Rild, and Trunks pushes him out of the way, and he gets turned into carbonite, like literally. Like this is very Star Wars, like very Star Wars. And I mean, you know, that's okay. Like pop culture. Like let's take big popular fantasy sci-fi stories and put them into Dragon Ball. Why not? Oh yeah, but then like Rail just like randomly teleports the Trunks statue to another place because we need to have somebody do something. So we're gonna have to find somebody find the Trunks carbonite statue, and then it's just like okay, and so then he tries it on Goku and Goku just dodges it. So then they're just having a normal fight, and it's just Goku and Trunks again, and then in the meantime, Pan is going up to try and grab Trunks' carbonite statue, and then I mean the fight with Goku and Real is alright, honestly. It's just like it's just this like I said, it's that weird like obsession where they've just gotta have like three subplots going on at the same time. So it's like it's not enough to just have a fight about Goku fighting Real. It's also gotta have Trunks getting turned into carbonite and Pan going off to find Trunks is carbonite, but then he gets teleported to somebody else, somewhere else, to Dr. Mew's planet, so they can't even get it back. And then it's like, oh, hey, this part, which is probably the weirdest thing in the entire, at least this entire mini arc, where she sees Gil, and she's like, Gil, what the hell? Why are you doing this? Why are you betraying us? And then, like, the walls just close in on her, and just, like, swallow her, and eject her out of the building. There's a lot of weird, like, this is the point where, like, honestly, things don't really start getting really weird until now. At this point, like, this plot's just is honestly just really weird. Do you think Pan will get Super Pan will get Super Saiyan? Probably not, because she's still a baby, and, you know, I don't think they would have done it until it was, like, the end of Z, maybe, and I don't think they're gonna do that, so. Okay, and what is next? We have, oh yeah, oh yeah, and then then the other robots that Goku beat last time are actually still alive, and they like grab Goku, and so he just goes Super Saiyan, and then Real like absorbs the robot parts. And he becomes hyper mega Rilled, and he looks kind of goofy, but you know, he gets a power up, and then Goku's like, I'm getting all excited, and he's Super Saiyan now. So this is going to be the real fight. Is next episode. I wonder how big the real fight is. People, you know, maybe I might make a Discord. Maybe I might make a Discord server. I've only got a Discord server for people so I can talk about Pretty Cool with people, but maybe I'll make another one. I don't know. It's just like everyone and their grandma seems to have the Discord server, so it's sort of like I feel like it might be a bit like there's almost no point to it, but you know. I don't know if I'm interesting enough to have a Discord server just dedicated about, hey, everyone's my fan here. Oh yeah, right. And so Goku and Real's fight continue. Meanwhile, Pan is trying to keep getting to Gil, and the doors keep swallowing her, and she doesn't know what to do because the doors are swallowing her. And then but then he just after that, Real is like he then immediately transforms again into a different form, which makes me think that like they just didn't like the design of the Hyper Mega Real form, so they're like, actually, screw it. So he has this new form that's just like made out of metal, and he can control the metal of the planet, which is quite cool, actually. That's a cool idea. It basically just means that he's like he can basically just do everything and control basically the entire planet itself. And then, meanwhile, Pan is getting stopped by robots again. And then Pan finally gets a chance to confront Gil, and she's getting really upset. And then, but then Gil just runs through the wall, and Pan just falls through the floor again. Oh yeah, right. And then we get to the other point that pissed me off, where she's like, "Listen, Gil, if you don't like, come here right now, I'm gonna blow everything up with a Kamehameha." And it's like, this is the first time that she's even tried to do a Kamehameha the entire series, pretty much, or at least like the first time she did a big one. And so she's about to do a Kamehameha, and then Gil just presses a button, and then the floors just suck her up again. So she doesn't actually get to do it. Like, I feel that is basically the epitome of Dragon Ball GT. Pan's like, alright, I'm gonna do something cool. And then somebody presses a button, and then the floors just swallow her up, and that's the end. And you can't actually do it. So it's a very fun time. It's a very fun time. Xeon's like, how's the current season of Preco been? It's alright, I guess. There's some cute episodes, there's some cute parts of it. It's not really very interesting, though. It's like, I have my gripes about it because it's basically supposed to be a space theme, but they take a very like girly approach to space in that they kind of don't really talk much about the space part at all. It's just like, hey, this is a planet of dog creatures, and this is a planet where there's lots of money, and in a way, I guess, kind of like GT, but I guess girlier and a bit funnier, a bit more interesting, I think, than GT planets, but I'll talk to you about that later, okay? How about that? But anyway, so Pan is still getting ejected by the walls, and she doesn't know what to do. But then, hey, suddenly the Dragon Ball shows up, and also Gil discards his Medal of Honor thing. So it makes you think, hey, maybe Gil actually doesn't care about them at all. Maybe Gil doesn't care about the bad guys. Maybe he's actually changed his mind and he's on their side. Which is a nice little, like, oh, hey, they're not, like, revealing it straight out yet. And yeah, right. So the Goku and Real fight at this point is, like, the biggest part of this, like, the biggest fight in this entire arc up until, like, the proper baby stuff starts happening. But it's kind of funny because, like, despite it being, like, the biggest fight, it's, like, they keep cutting away to the subplots, and the subplots are just, like, lots of just random things happening, but not really, like, informing anything that's going on with Goku's fight, and it's a bit weird. And also the fight ends without much of a conclusion. Where is Pam's not even really being Yamcha'd because sometimes it's not even like she's too weak to do something. Sometimes it's just like she just happens to be in a bad situation where the guy just, they just happen to have a thing that can just make the walls close in on her and only her, and eject her out of the plot. It's basically that. Like, the walls are basically, it's a metaphor, because it's a metaphor of the creators pressing a button and ejecting Pan from the plot. It's a metaphor. It's not a metaphor. It's basically a metaphor. Anyway, next episode, Goku keeps fighting Railed. They actually do some fun stuff here where they fight in the movie theater, and then they fight in, like, the ruined city, and things get kind of interesting, but then, like, the moment that maybe there might be some kind of conclusion, Pan just shows up, and she's like, hey, I've got the Dragon Balls now, but Trunks is a Dr. Muse planet, and then he just turns them both into carbonite as well, and then they lose. End of the fight, I guess, it was... So basically the fight was basically just... I guess it was almost like the fight wasn't the main part of the show, which is sort of, I guess, a difference between GT and any other Dragon Ball thing. Well, you had other subplots. They were there to sort of support the fights. But here, the weird stuff about people getting turned into Carbonite and Gil, that's the main plot. The side plot is Goku being distracted by fighting Rildo. I think that's what's the difference here, which makes it a little bit... I mean, it's its own story, but it's a bit interesting. It's different. It's that kind of thing. Okay, so... Then, next, they're like, alright, I guess that we've got to go they all get transported to Dr. Mew's planet. So hey, they're all there at the same time. They finally meet Dr. Mew. Dr. Mew is kind of like, okay, and now we've got to like, what was it, like kill them or do something? And oh yeah, and he basically says, you know, Gil, why don't you can go and do it or something? And Gil just betrays them. He betrays Dr. Mew and he turns them back into normal by using this little beam thing that he has. And then, oh yeah, also then like the Trunks lab gets like, they try to find it because Trunks hasn't got turned back into normal. But then, like, as they fight through it, the Trunks lab gets broken. So it's like, oh my god, Trunks is dead. But actually, no, Trunks is over there. He's still alive. That Trunks lab that was brought to Dr. Mew's place wasn't fake. Actually, what Gil was doing is the Gil turned him back to normal. And beforehand, and then they were, so then Trunks could go to the Dr. Mew's planet, like, fully functional, so he could go and investigate this secret project that he has, or something. And so it was, you know, we're trying to investigate this, and there's actually some secret project. And, okay, like, maybe I'm being biased here, but, like, it's just, all of this stuff is just happening, and it just keeps happening, and everything keeps happening, and, like, we're finally at something where they finally built to something. Although even then it was like, you wouldn't even necessarily think that they were the big bad guy until like after they start like being like, okay, no, he's totally the big bad guy. So then we find out the plot. It turns out Dr. Mew's big secret bad guy thing is called Baby, and it's growing in a tube, kind of like Cell. And he's supposed to be like the ultimate warrior if he reaches his perfect form, kind of like Cell. But like, also then it's like, you know, they kind of like just kind of casually drop all the Gil subplot by basically saying, oh hey, so like, Gil found out that when Baby was going to be defeated, everyone was going to be killed, so that's why he sort of betrayed them. And also, I think there's this one part. Oh yeah, right. There's also this one part. They basically just explain it through random exposition in the middle of the episode, where it's like, oh yeah. And so basically, what was going on with Gil was beforehand he had amnesia, so he wasn't actually trying to betray us at any of those points. But then when we got close to M2, he got his memories back, and that's what his incentive, you know, his directive to like try and betray us and get the dragon showed up. And this all just happened with Trunks just randomly telling everybody this while they're walking, once this subplot is already over, and it's very much like not satisfying at all. So, you know, it's basically like okay, no, it seems like it's alright, but yeah. Okay, yeah. I'm just gonna wait. Yeah, okay. So, basically, anyway, things happened, and so it's like Trunks was like messing with Baby's programming, because I guess he knows how to do that because he's the smart one, because he's Bulma's kid. And Baby looks like he's dead, but then when you mention something about Saiyajins, he wakes up. Baby wakes up and he like destroys the thing, and he's awake, and he's this like grey dude who's like, I don't know, nobody really knows. And then they just blast him, and it looks like he explodes, and there you go. They beat Baby, and the end of the story. And I was just saying here where I was thinking that like, if I was at this point where I was watching GT and I didn't know what was going to happen next, I would have assumed that Baby was basically like the like final boss of the whole Dragon Ball Hunt adventure. And so the reason why I had all this build up is because then it'd be like, you know, Goku, Trunks, Pan, and Gil would like have to team up to fight this big baby creature little baby creature who is like really strong because of reasons. But that's kind of not how they do it, because they sort of think that they beat Baby, and then also like they just sort of let Dr. Mew escape, which kind of gets on my nerves, because like they're like, we're not gonna let you get away, and then they do nothing, and then Mew just gets away, and it's, oh yeah, and then Trunks is just like, it's okay, because like we can let Mew live, because like without Baby he can't do anything, you know, besides like build all those machine mutants and try to take over the world. But No, we're not gonna do anything. We're not gonna try and beat him up or anything. We'll just leave him, and it's okay because, like, you know, he's like, I'm gonna be able to just rebuild baby anyway, but it's okay. We'll just leave him. But then I've got to admit, things get kind of interesting and creepy because then suddenly Mew starts talking in baby's voice, and then baby explodes out of his back, and it's cool. It's very like cool and threatening, and it's fun. And it's like, okay, so baby was like actually like absorbed himself into Mew, so he's escaped. I mean, the only reason this is happening is because Mew just like happened to like, be able to escape because they just let him go. But all right, fine. But then we get to the weird, really weird, stupid thing, which I don't know why they did this, where they're like, actually, no, Baby was the one who created Dr. Mew. Although Dr. Mew created Baby, or did he program Dr. Mew to think that he created Baby, even though Baby didn't create it himself? He created Baby. No, Baby created Dr. Mew, so Dr. Mew would build Baby. So something. And it doesn't make any sense. It really doesn't. I'm very sorry. It doesn't make any sense. Alright, yeah, Augustus, I was talking to you. I was saying it would have. I responded to your question earlier, but I think the lag stopped it. I was saying it would have made more. I would have liked it if Dr. Mew was a Tuverian. I think it could have been cool if he was like sort of a cyborg or something, and that's how he survived. But I think the idea of Baby being made up of his unborn kid is very creepy, and maybe a bit too creepy for Dragon Ball standards. I don't know. It was anyway. So that whole plot is weird. I don't know why they even said that Baby made Mew. I guess it's just to make it so that everything that was going on in this entire plot was all Baby's fault. But even it just makes things more convoluted because when you realize what Baby's plan is, well, you realize that Baby basically doesn't have a plan other than just take over the world and the universe, and I guess take revenge on they exist. But like, he doesn't really have a plan. So the fact that he has all these random things that apparently he's responsible for, it just makes it very hard to believe, honestly. It's hard to buy that Baby was responsible for all of this stuff. Oh yeah, and also there was a Dragon Ball in Dr. Mew's head, and they also did not pick up on that the entire time. So they have to go and meet him, I guess, and see Baby again because there's a Dragon Ball there. And I mean, I guess that could have been cool if it led to another confrontation, but like, it's weird because that's kind of not what happens. So anyway, yeah. Xion's just like, yeah, the Baby Mew origin story is confusing and makes no sense. Don't think about it too much. Thanks. Thanks, Xion. Alright, anyway, okay, you know what? I think I'm going to end on episode 20, whatever it was, the point where Baby starts showing up on Earth. That's sort of when I start basically saying the story is different. And, like, essentially the end of the Black Star Dragon Ball saga, you could say. So I've got 2 more episodes to go. And then I can, like, maybe stop streaming it and have something to eat. I didn't realize that me just talking about the plot was going to take so long. But I guess it's just because the problem is, when I go through all of this story, I have to actually kind of explain it. Like, it feels a bit cheap if I just say, random things happened, and I don't know. Because, like, so much happens and you kind of have to follow along plot step by plot step. You can't really summarize this. You can't summarize this arc because so much different stuff just keeps happening even within the same episode. It makes it very hard to talk about. So, okay, so they go around and try to leave the planet, M2 after a job well done, but then Rild's still alive. Because actually, like, Rild is the entire planet, I guess. Right, I guess that makes sense. But then they just, like, shoot a Kamehameha at him, and then he just stops and lets them go, and then they leave. Except, like, Baby is also in Rild. And now I'm actually thinking about it, that actually still does not really make any sense. I don't know what's going on because that means there are 2 babies running around, and this baby, after defeating Mew, after killing Mew, he went back to M2 and absorbed Rild, and then after Rild died, he I guess so he goes back, like they escape and then he goes back to M2. Even though he probably wouldn't be back by M2 because they had the teleporter and he didn't have a teleporter. None of this makes any sense. None of this makes any sense. So let's move on. Yeah. Oh yeah, there's a really funny thing where Trunks like is like, we don't have any time, but that turned out to be quite a bit of a detour, huh? Which is just like, that's emblematic of this entire story arc in a nutshell. They're just like, we were supposed to be in a hurry, but this ended up being quite a bit of a detour because there's detours within detours within detours within detours until maybe there'll be a plot at some point in the future. I don't know. Anyway, so then there's a spaceship, and the spaceship has the Dragon Ball, but the spaceship is, like, destroyed, and so it's going to be caught up in the star's gravity, and then they need to, like, hurry to get it, and so they go in little cute spacesuits, and I love it. And their spacesuits have their names on them, and it's very cute. And so they find the Dragon Ball, which is the Dragon Ball that Mew had. So it makes you think that, okay, so what happened was Mew. No, Baby destroys Dr. Mew, and then he flies around, and then he finds another people who have a spaceship. And so he goes into the spaceship, he slowly like takes over and kills everyone in the spaceship, hides this Dragon Ball in the spaceship, waits for the spaceship to just go into a star, and then does he expect them to find that Dragon Ball? I guess. And then he takes over. No, he doesn't, because he takes over a kid in the spaceship. And so he leaves the Dragon Ball as bait. So he. The plan makes no sense. It really, like, this is the point. Like, now I'm thinking about it. Other points where I'm like, this is weird, whatever. But I didn't really say, this makes no sense. But when we start getting to Baby, this is the part where I'm like, I don't understand this. Because he says how to bait trap. So he pretends to be a sick little boy. So they take the sick little boy to a hospital so he can absorb them, maybe? I guess? But, like, he doesn't absorb them in the spaceship. Even though he could, like, trick them, he absorbs them only after a very long, elaborate scheme where you only find out at the end of the episode that he's actually evil. And maybe he's not Baby himself. Maybe Baby's taking over him and he couldn't get control until now. And, I'm sorry. Like, normally I was fine. I'm actually surprised that everything is fine. Everything here made plenty of sense. But then it's like, now I'm just thinking about it. It's like, what? Yeah, it's like, yeah, it doesn't make sense. Then why did they make it so complicated? I'm not going to let it slide just because it's better that way. Exactly. Oh no. And the Light Beach is like, I watched this entire stream at twice speed just to catch up. Oh, damn it. Yeah, stream 1, 16 episodes in. But like I said, I think when it gets later episodes, it'll be fine because less happens in later episodes. There are less things that happen. It's just more like there is a single fight that takes up an episode, and so I don't have as much to say about it. It's whatever. It's like, no breaks, eat and stream. No, I'm not doing that. Yeah, so he becomes the sick boy, and then, yeah, the spaceship, and then it was like, Dragon Ball, yeah. The Gimston 101 says, hey Gabby, I'm just here and you're flustered about something. I'm conflustered about the storyline of Dragon Ball GT and the early parts with Baby because none of it makes any sense. It doesn't. Because, okay, so then we have an episode where they're just in the space hospital and, like, they're saving the little kid, but the little kid's actually Baby. And they're just sitting around in the hospital and they're not doing anything because, like, Goku is hungry, but he doesn't want to eat in the hospital because he's scared of the needles. Even though he's not going to have needles in the hospital, but he's scared of hospitals because there's needles in hospital, which is a filler thing, but, whatever. And then, yeah, but Baby is taking over the boy's body, who's and he wants to... Okay, yeah, no, so his motivation is he's trying to take over their Saiyan powers, or Saya power. So I don't know why he didn't just do that when they found him in the spaceships, but whatever, they're waiting until the hospital, and this is the part where Pan gets suckled by a deer, and it's really gross, and stop, don't do that. And so then Baby starts taking over, and then, oh yeah, right, and so he's trying to take over Pan, but then he gets interrupted, so he takes over the doctor, And then as he takes over the doctor's like, why didn't you come over here and do all this stuff? And why didn't you come over here and let's show you, I'm going to show you all the medical equipment. And that's really cool. And he gets Trunks alone and he's like, yep, and then surprise, I'm actually baby. But then Trunks is like, actually, yeah, I knew this the whole time. We could tell you were baby the whole time because we could sense your ki. So actually what we did is we took you, even though we knew you were baby, we took, we knew your ki was there when you like did crazy things. So we knew that you were there. So we tried. So actually, I was pretending to be alone, so you would show yourself. So then Goku and Pan are hiding behind me, so they would know, and then all three of us can take you on at once. And oh my god, and yeah. So then they try and fight Baby, and like they're pretty good about it. But then like Baby finds a cut on Trunks' body, and he just nudges into it and takes over Trunks' body. And then they're like, oh no, he's taken over Trunks' body. What are we gonna do? We can't just kill Trunks. But it's okay because then like Trunks just like brute forces Baby to stop. But yeah, basically brute forces Baby to get him out of it by going Super Saiyan. And Baby's like, crap, I'm not strong enough to be able to take over the Saiyan body. So he realizes, okay, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go out in the universe and steal other people's powers. So I will be strong enough to take over a Saiyan body one day. Except, like, then the. And yeah, basically very much like, like Cell, basically. Yeah, they explain this like Cell. Yeah, it's basically like Cell. And then it is fine because Goku and Pan and Trunks just sort of sit there and let him do it. It's fine. They're like, okay, well, it's fine. I mean, Baby can't beat us, so we'll just let him go off, do whatever he wants. We don't know where he is anyway. His key's gone, so it's fine. And let's go and look for some more Dragon Balls. Oh, and I'm hungry. And this is the end. It's, like I said, none of this, none of this is really, it's just weird. It's just like, yeah. The last season of Game of Thrones makes more sense than this. It probably does. It's just like, God, there's just so much. Actually, this is my secret plan. And then this is my secret plan. And then this is my secret plan. And my secret plan. And everyone's secret plan. And secret plans. And basically, this is like the worst part. Well, okay. It's like the most boring part and the most like head scratching part. Like everything else, even when there are silly parts or parts that seem like they're almost like plot holes, at least they have a bit of logic to them. This one is just like, it feels like they are making things up when they go along because that's exactly what they're doing. After that, everything feels a bit more, like normal, like structured. It's just it has its own separate issues to do with characterization and wastes of characters and just like boring fights or fights that really feel messed up for me, and Pan getting kidnapped and being in distress all the time. And yeah, basically that's the babe. So honestly, that is all like that is all the weird GT stuff that doesn't make any sense. It started off good, but then like it just becomes plot element after plot element after plot element, and you basically learn nothing out of this. Like, there's no character development here. Trunks showing he has some kind of secret plans doesn't mean some big like character development's going to happen. This just stuff just randomly just keeps happening, and it's boring. And it's like, why? Is not, it's not like the worst thing that ever existed. It's just very convoluted and weird, and I don't think it's like bad or it's a bad story. It's just weird. It's just very weird, and I wouldn't really feel like I'd want to rewatch it because there's no like underlying story behind it or development behind it or a fight really. It's a very weird show. Oh yeah, it's lagging again, but don't worry, it should work soon. Okay, wait. Sorry, it looks like it's, yeah. We are lagging. I'm just seeing if it's gonna work. OBS. No, it looks like it's working on my side, but I don't know. Okay, yeah, there we go. It's cool. It's working. Sort of. No, it's not working. Damn it. Okay, maybe it's working now. No, it's still lagging. Because I can't stop streaming, because then that would end the stream altogether. So I don't know how you reboot a stream, to be honest. So I'm just gonna hope that it's fixed. And it looks alright now. Okay, cool. Cool, we're back. Awesome. Anyway, so yeah, that's the Black Star Dragon Ball arc of Dragon Ball GT. I don't know. It's not bad, it's just very weird and confusing. Like, it's not, the only things that are like, cringeworthy, bad, or like, making me seriously think, I don't want people to make, I don't want people to watch this show, are like when it's, when the creepy stuff with Pan, like, the Doltaki stuff and all that kind of stuff. That's the stuff where I'm like, yeah, no, Dragon Ball GT is bad, don't watch it. Everything else, it's just, I don't know. Like, in all honesty, you almost could start from the beginning of the baby arc, because so little of what happens in those previous episodes actually informs what happens for the rest of the story. So, it's weird. It's not bad. It's just weird and not very interesting as a story. It is, for some you compare it to other stuff with the Goku Black stuff, and yeah, like, it is sort of like, I don't really know what's the point of it. Like, a mystery with just not very interesting fights or whatever is not really a good excuse for a story arc. It's like, at the very least, the Goku Black arc, what it had was it had Future Trunks, and it had Goku and Vegeta, and it had strong character interactions, and sort of development, and sort of, Trunks feeling like he sort of was gaining stuff from this experience. The GT arc doesn't really have that, which I think is what makes it feel like it's just so boring at the end of the day. But yeah, so anyway, so that's the Black Star Dragon Ball stuff. I'm getting hungry. So it looks like this was Dragon Ball GT stream part 1. I didn't even realize it was going to take me so long, but I underestimated how long I had, like, how much detail I went into for every single one of the 64 episodes. So yeah, GT stream, maybe I might be able to do it in like about 2 days from now, because that's probably a good time for me. Can't do it tomorrow though. But yeah, thanks everyone for showing up and for listening to me ramble about Dragon Ball GT for like 2 hours. Thank you. That's very weird, and I don't know why you did it, but yeah, that's Dragon Ball GT stream. Yeah, Main Neutral says it's a rip-off. Is that supposed to be a fighting game nickname? Because that's good. It's a rip-off of the first Dragon Ball with a confusing climax. Not good. And yeah, I can understand that as well. Yeah, it's like, it's weird because it's hard to say it's bad. It's just boring. Like, I'd say for it to be bad, it would have to just like have, very like, bad like inconsistencies, or like really bad animation, or like just like something that feels cheap. But like, it doesn't really feel cheap. It just feels like they don't know what they're doing. And that's it. It just feels like they don't know what they're doing. So like, something like, say, in Super, like the Super Battle of Gods arc, or Super anything. Like, a lot of early Super, that felt unprofessional because it felt cheap, because like the story felt very cheap, or the silly things, like like the animation was bad, or the story was bad, or the music was bad. GT didn't really have that. It was just kind of, it didn't feel unprofessional. It just felt very boring. It just felt like, I mean, it like felt like watching a really like episodic show, or like watching an episodic show of a genre you kind of don't care about at all. That's what that first arc of GT felt like. So yeah, it's like, that's GT, and I guess I'll see you guys next time. If you have any like last minute questions, go and ask them now. Mike's like, we used to listen to you cry for like 2 hours. Time to build a lifelong grudge against you. That's true. I mean, to be fair, you also have probably all watched me cry for like 2 minutes, so yeah, they don't know what they're doing, basically. Like I said, it's a show. It's not the worst thing in existence. It's just very boring. This arc part of it. like I have to admit, I think in the next few arcs, I think it gets more of a like good or bad, or I like this and I don't like this. This one is like there's not much that I openly dislike a lot. It's just boring. So GT a mixed bag? Yes, GT is a mixed bag. There's, like I said, there's like 2 episodes in there that I think are pretty decent, but like, and you know, like I said, it doesn't feel cheap, but it's just, oh, gross. Side note, I forgot all about the doll stuff, and I'm glad I can't remember. Oh yeah, the doll stuff. The doll stuff's bad. That's bad, but it's even worse because like it's the subplot part. I'll repeat myself. The person who made it was like ADHD and a meth pipe. Yeah, it was like that. GT was weird, and hopefully when we get to the baby parts, you know, things get more of a plot and it's a bit more normal. But yeah, I'm getting really hungry. I need to have lunch. And yeah, but like I'm glad you guys sticked around my whole time, and have a good day or night or whatever it is for the rest of your time. And thanks for sticking by. So see ya.